Hello guys, welcome to another video of Guru. We are going to shoot a video after a long time, so let's have a great conversation with our guest, Siddiq Anwar, who is a consultant nephrologist here in the UAE in Sheikh Shakhbout Medical City. He has a very unique, professional experience because he's not just a doctor, but also a doctor which knows a lot about technology. And he has been collaborating with many tech people. That's how I met him. And now we'll have some conversations where we'll try to, let you know how to pursue a medical education, what are the best, arenas where you can, pursue. And we'll talk a lot about different kind of opportunities as we do in our channel. So let's just start, and let's just start with Siddiq for, giving a brief introduction about his journey so far. And so that we can move ahead with the podcast.
Right. Thank you very much for this invitation. I think we'll probably speak in Hindi and English.
Yes,
exactly.
We will mix
because it's for the Desi people, so it's it's targeting mostly people in the Indian subcontinent, everywhere in the Indian subcontinent. तो वहाँ पे ताकि हर किसी
के पास पहुँचना चाहिए.
So definitely, I like you come from a middle class family, and at least in my generation, the only way to succeed was to get a professional education, which will set you up for life.
Right.
But of course, in India, the big challenge is we have a lot of talented people, and to stand out is challenging. So, a little bit brief journey. Of course, I finished my pre-university, 12th grade, 97. We were fortunate in India, Karnataka at that time, that we had a common entrance exam, which helped me secure a medical seat in Karnataka Medical College in Hubli. It's a government medical college, so which meant that my parents could afford me to go to medical school there because it didn't cost much, and I actually got a scholarship as well. But that did put me outside Bangalore, where most of the opportunities are. So even though I am from Bangalore, I study in Hubli, which is a tier 2, tier 3 city.
Right.
I was not a great scholar, to be honest. I had actually a batchmate of mine who was got top in AIMS, and I definitely was not of that category.
Right.
But I did want to succeed. I had hunger to succeed. So what I had done was, at that time, the opportunity was ki UK jana. Because UK at that time had a shortage of doctors, and they had suddenly opened up opportunities for people from subcontinent to come. And I clearly could not afford to do exams for 2-3 years. इंडिया में क्या होता है कि आप इंजीनियरिंग या मेडिसिन खत्म करते हो, then you spend 2-3 years trying to get into either UPSC or common entrance exams.
या फिर if you try for MD.
हाँ, तो my family could not afford me sitting at home. So I had planned in such a way कि within a week of me finishing my internship, I was in the UK. Now that for me was one of the best things I did in my life. Because क्या होता है कि when you are following the treaded path, which is like everyone finished MBBS, sits 2-3 years at home doing an RMO job. RMO is essentially a junior doctor in a private hospital or nursing home, and then you start preparing for exams. You lose the best years of your life. And the best years of your life are those years where you can do a lot of hard work, able to accept compromises in your personal lives. And those years, you are the most precious years. Your mid-20s, early 20s, mid-20s. And making the right decision then was crucial for you to get out of that huge crowd of people who are probably more talented than you or more hardworking than you, but to create opportunity for yourself. So I was lucky. I went to the UK. Initially 6 months I struggled to get a job, landed a job, and then I was fortunate. I met some people in Wrexham, which is a small town outside Chester, near Manchester, and that got me going. So what helped me was because I left early. Most of my colleagues who initially didn't go that route, they wanted to do MD or national exams, they still ended up coming to UK and US. But the time I saved,
some time over
I saved there.
Yeah.
So yes, I didn't do a a master's degree from Ames or. But in the end, because I had a first mover advantage, I could create opportunities for myself, and then that was the key to creating the opportunities for myself.
And did you like go there on a job seeker visa or with an internship?
So
how did you plan that out?
Visa करके आप
तो वहाँ पे उस जमाने में एक था सिस्टम का प्लान, so they used to give you a training visa, and then that didn't lead you to nationalization. Those 4 years were not counted towards naturalization or permanent residency.
Okay.
But that was a route to get into the system. Like in America, you have a J1 visa.
अभी आजकल मतलब यूजर्स को फॉर देयर इंफॉर्मेशन, सो यूके ने इंडिया के लिए एक यंग प्रोफेशनल स्कीम करके दे हैव लॉन्च्ड दिस वीजा. अभी रिसेंटली देयर वाज अ बैलेट फॉर दैट. तो 2 साल के लिए दे गिव वीजा, यू कैन कम टू द यूके, यू कैन वर्क देयर, बिल्ड योर नेटवर्क जस्ट लाइक यू डिड. सो आज के टाइम में वो अपॉर्चुनिटी है प्रॉपर रूट के साथ जो कोई भी कर सकता है, एंड इट हैपेंस ट्वाइस any year. So that's another piece of information, I think.
So visa rules are created when they have a gap in the system. So when they have a gap of talented workforce in these Western countries, as you know, उनकी जो population who's studying is limited for the opportunities they have, because the economy is big, they need a lot of talented people, but जितने वो खुद ग्रेजुएट कर रहे हैं is not matching up to the gap, and that's where we come in. And of course, some of the jobs I did initially were not good training jobs, but I did them because that led to opportunities. For example, let me give you an example. So I did my SHO job with them, and that's called core medical training, and quite quickly I finished my MRCP. So that was good. Now there's the next bottleneck you have to navigate. And there I got stuck for 2 years. तो क्या होता है कि after you finish your core medical training, you need to go to subspecialty training. So I had, of course, assimilated in the system. So I was just going along with the flow कि बस hard work करते रहो और आपको opportunity मिलेगी. And this is something which you have to learn is in your professional career is hard work alone doesn't pay off.
Right. Smart work.
Smart. So what had happened was I was doing hard work, but I was not getting those opportunities because my social skills were not advanced. If you had met me 10-15 years ago, I was not the same guy. I was just a nerdy guy who would know all the information, who you could trust to manage a patient, but they would not see me as a leader who would build a service for them.
Right.
And these training opportunities you get in your own corporate life are basically that differentiates from a worker bee to a leader,
Right.
Yes.
So they will never see me as a leader. So I would not get it in those training jobs, which was a national training number, which leads to you to get a consultant job. Okay, so basically what happens in medical school, in the UK system is you do your core medical training, then you go into a specialist training, which has a national training number, which leads you to gives the opportunity to become a consultant.
Right.
So I was doing a registrar job without a training number. I was trusted to manage complex patients, trusted to look after the service. The consultants would not come when I was on time, but I was not trusted to be. They don't see me as a leader, and largely because हमारी communication skills were not developed. क्योंकि हमें जो सिखाया जाता है कि बस hard work करो, knowledge acquire करो, information acquire करो, and that leads to success. But that is not the fact in life,
Yes.
Success comes to people who are very good at interacting with people, managing situations, dealing with the complexities of life, dealing with disappointments as well. ये भी सिखाया जाता as part of our training because this kind of emotional intelligence, social intelligence, cultural intelligence हमें नहीं आती because failure is considered part of growing process. तो but you should minimize the failures to accelerate your growth. अगर आप देखें जो बंदे अब IIT से आप दोनों IIT से हैं, those guys who scale from the IIT system to CEO roles in Silicon Valley, their success far outnumber their failures. What they have done is they managed to navigate their career in a way that they have reduced the number of failures they have had, and largely because they have seen the opportunity before they've risen.
And I think that's a very important point that you touched upon. You know, a lot of us in India हमें सिखाया जाता है कि successful कैसे बनना है. You have to study hard, you have to work hard, and you have to be the best person. You have to be really excellent. You have to be academically the strongest. But हमें जो नहीं सिखाया जाता are those soft skills that you mentioned about. We are not taught how to interact with people. We are not taught कि how to express your ideas. We are not taught how to have discussions together. We are not taught about basic things like English. A lot of people उनको job they clear the technical rounds and they go to the interview stage and then they're nervous. They don't know how to face the interviewer, and that's where they fail. So
no, actually one of the things which I would like insist कि हमें we don't have to fear कि हमें हमारी English is not perfect.
Right.
But what we need to learn is to communicate our ideas and our thoughts.
Right.
ये जो हमारे जो ideas हैं, you have to be brave enough to do that. And a lot of people I see उनको डर है कि how people will perceive them.
Exactly, because they are not perfect. That's what they think. There is no need to be perfect.
No need to be perfect. It's a marketplace of ideas. I mean, मैं हिमांशु की जब पहली बात हुई थी, to now, the idea which I was working on with you is completely changed.
Yes, exactly.
You're wrong. I mean, when I meet in my kind of this current version of my life, I meet many successful startup founders. They've pivoted 3-4 times.
Correct. They changed. Yeah. Exactly.
And they're happy to say that they've pivoted.
Yeah.
तो ये क्यों ना करें? So this is the point. I was like, एक perception है कि this is the route to take to success.
Exactly. ये हम बहुत देखते हैं इंडिया में, और एक fear of failure भी बहुत ज़्यादा है इंडियन सिस्टम में, which is not there, let's say, in the US. That's why we get more entrepreneurs and successful companies. इंडिया में एक तो fear of failure, और एक जो है वो एक बस defined route.
It's fall in the herd, एक herd mentality. अच्छा इसने ये किया तो maybe that's the only way out. They don't like you did. In your case, you found out.
Took a very different.
After I don't want to sit for this MD. I don't want to go and compete with a lot of people. You thought, let me try something different. Let me just go to UK. Let me explore things there. And the way it has shaped your life. Maybe these are the steps. These are the bold steps that someone has to take to pave their way to success.
I think, for example, क्या होता है कि you derive comfort by being around things which you understand. अगर जो चीज़ समझ में नहीं आती, you try to stay away from that. And which means that people have a traditional route. I don't know, maybe I'm just stereotyping. Traditional route probably in India right now for tier 2, tier 3 cities है बंदा कि they go to Bangalore या Noida या Hyderabad and try and see that यहाँ पे opportunity बनेगी. But then they are competing with thousands of engineers who are equally talented, if not more.
Yes.
Why not do something in Raipur or whichever city you are from in India, क्योंकि population वहाँ भी है. That is also a market needs to be served, So let me just talk about things like last 7 years of my journey. I was brought here 7 years ago to set up a transplant program. But then when I came here, I realized the market needs something else. Market needs transplant. Just for the non-medical people, transplantation is the last therapy we do for people who have kidney disease. That means उनका डिटेक्शन हो गया है, उनको हमने मैनेज किया है through their life. We've been unable to prevent them from ending up on dialysis or end-stage kidney disease. तब वहाँ पे ट्रांसप्लांट करते हैं.
Right.
In a mature system, क्या होता है? ये all these blocks have been built, and then we are the last people who come in to help people to get transplanted because none of these interventions upstream have worked.
Right.
यहाँ पे वो नहीं था. कि डिटेक्शन प्रोग्राम हो, डायलिसिस पेशेंट्स को बेटर मैनेज हो, बेटर QA हो उनका जो प्रोसेस का, एंड देन आइडेंटिफाई पेशेंट्स अर्ली ट्रांसप्लांट, जो पेशेंट्स आर नॉट ट्रांसप्लांटेबल हो उनको मैच किया जाए. नाउ I worked in a mature system जहाँ पे मेरे जो प्रोफेसर ने पूरा बना दिया था. I was just a cog in the wheel. I used to go there and manage patients who need transplants. So now most people would say, यार ये तो बनानी है. I cannot do what I'm good at, which is do transplantation. Then I had to reinvent myself, and I started learning about health informatics, which I had zero knowledge about before this. I'm not in any formal training. And the way, how do I come to know? I start meeting people. या तुमने कैसे solve किया है?
Right.
So this is also very key that your journey is not unique. Other people are going through the same journey, and what is surprising is people are willing to help.
Yes, exactly.
And you need to ask people to help you. And if they don't know what you are solving, they will not be there say, yeah, I can solve this problem. And in this journey, I met a bunch of new people.
Right.
And that enriched my experience here, you know. I met his mentor, Emre, because I had a bunch of data. The previous ex-CEO of my organization wanted me to create a business plan of what an renal service in 21st century would look like. I was looking for a biostatistician.
Right.
And I called Emre. I said, I heard you're a biostatistician. He said, no, I'm a systems engineer. I didn't know what system engineering was. So then I realized what I have been taught as a doctor is to solve the problem in front of me, that is the patient. But to ensure the patient gets reliable, effective treatment, not just this patient, bunch of patients, then you need to understand system engineering. So that was a new learning for me. You know? But this conversation wouldn't have happened because normally as a physician we just focus on managing the patient in front of us.
Treatment.
So in this journey I learned a bunch of other things which I wouldn't have normally, you know.
Right.
So क्या होता है कि one of the tragedies of the last 20th century is we've been so focused on creating specialists that we've become so narrow in our domain expertise. We are not able to see what is happening world around us.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very good point. So what you meant about what you mentioned about specialists. So as we see, and especially with the advent of AI, आजकल specialists are, you know, maybe some years down the line it will be some AI which is really good at doing that thing even better than a human. So the way careers are diverging is you should be having a multidisciplinary outlook. If you are able to have knowledge in a lot of different things, then you are ahead of the other people. But if you are only specialized in very, you know, only one thing, maybe somewhere down the line some AI can beat you to it.
I must agree with your sentiment, but थोड़ा different take है कि my feeling is someone who's got a very narrow skill set is too expensive as an asset if they don't have other cross
utilities in other
for example, it's like, you know, if you watch football, if you have a footballer who is only good at one skill, you can neutralize that skill. So you should be able to do multiple different things.
Right.
Have your domain expertise is important. That's your identity.
Of course.
But इतना आना चाहिए दूसरी skills का कि you can be utility player as well.
Right.
If the situation demands.
Yes.
For example, in my current job, I don't do transportation. But that has not stopped me from continuing to grow academically.
Right.
My hospital, previous admission, decided not to have a transplant program. Technically, that would have been the end of my career. In this hospital, I would have to move elsewhere.
Right.
Even though we did 3 transplants when I first joined, but my hospital decided not to. Now, the normal reaction would be, let's leave for a doctor.
Right.
But the reason I didn't leave is that for the preceding 4 years, I had built a huge ecosystem. I know Himanshu, I know Emre, I know Mohammed Yaqub, I know a bunch of other people.
Right.
To rebuild that ecosystem would have taken me many more years in another organization. So I made a conscious decision, yeah, my transfer nahi karunga, no problem. I could still academically grow. because I have this ecosystem which is more valuable
Right.
than my core skill of being a transplant nephrologist.
Right.
And that was again a new learning. Ki you are nothing without the team around you. And we've been very successful in that front. I mean, once you can attest to that. A lot of the things which I'm doing as a nephrologist, no other nephrologist in the world is doing. But I wouldn't have been doing this if I had not learned about what everybody can do, what Mahmoud Yaqub can do, what Himanshu can do. You know?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So again, coming back to what our core audience is, ki, as long as you increase your surface area, you will get opportunities. अगर हमने सोचा नहीं मैं बस अमेजिंग नेफ्रोलॉजिस्ट रहूँगा मेरे क्लिनिक में मैं देखता रहूँगा पेशेंट्स you should go to other specialty, you know, and the situation may change that situations can work which are much beyond your control, where the leadership of my operation decided we won't have a transplant program.
Right.
तो फिर मैं क्या करूँ? तो मैंने जो इन्वेस्टमेंट की थी 4-5 साल की, I would have had to let go.
Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
That's key. You know, if that is gone, then you're like,
Then you have to leave.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave UAE because UAE has been a great place for my growth.
Right.
Not necessarily in what I am really good at, but I have created other opportunities. And that's one more learning is कि यार अगर first time नहीं होता ना तो आप pivot करो. As long as you're progressing in your career, doing meaningful work, don't define your life by saying यही success है. This is also success.
Right.
What other things are you doing?
Exactly. तो ये जो हम चैनल है ना इसमें हम काफी फोकस करते हैं we focus on tier 2 tier 3 cities students mostly तो उनको कई चीजें पता नहीं होती हैं there is huge information asymmetry you know there is lot of misinformation as well so Sarthak had a question right he had someone in the family who did something and there is a follow-up question on that so Sarthak you can go
So one experience from my own life one of my cousin sisters she is from I wouldn't say really affluent background, but she can afford, studies even privately. So the way she proceeded with her career, my uncle, made her study in a private medical college because she was not getting into a good enough government college, and spending around 1 to 1.5 CR into her medical education from India, and now she's doing the training and all of other things. So what other avenues are there for someone who can afford to spend this much? But I feel that in a way these private colleges, a lot of them are really a cash grab. So how you can differentiate yourself, or how and what are the other places from where you can probably get a license which is maybe recognized around the world? So what are the different avenues, or what are the different pathways that you can take?
Yeah. So if I could answer this again in a long way, to get in your life you need different people in different stages of your career.
Right.
एक होता है coaching, एक होता है mentor, एक होता है sponsor.
Right.
So when you go to a medical school, you need someone who can coach you to learn that skills. And India there are some very good centers, but you should think about opportunities outside, like in the West.
Right.
The advantage of doing a medical school in the UK is that you can directly go get a you don't have to go through the hurdles we went through because I did my medical school in India, so I had to do a licensing exam, lab, and then go into a training program. And if you're already there, graduate. To get into the system is much more easier, even though you may have gone through the medical school after competing with millions of people.
Right.
That doesn't have any merit. You go and do a medical school. I have my cousin's son who's in medical school in the UK.
Right.
The reason being, post your training, you can get into their system because you're considered as a local graduate.
Right.
Versus us who train in the UK, India, and have to compete with the general population. That's one thing. Second thing would be, आपने medical school कर ली इंडिया से, but आप जा रहे हो UK में train करने के लिए.
Right.
Lot of my opportunities came because someone made a phone call for me.
Right.
So when I was doing training in Wrexham, my program director called the program director in Manchester Royal Infirmary, which is a big prestigious training program. कि बंदा बहुत अच्छा है, इसे job.
Right.
So I was the only non-local in that training program.
Right.
He made a phone call.
Right.
तो ये जो learning है ना हमें मिस हो जाती है. Because I was fortunate, he took a shine to me and then he made those phone calls happen. But if you do a medical school in India, but you see yourself training in the West, who's going to make those phone calls for you to open the doors? That's one advantage I see. Of course, I don't know the circumstances, but some people don't want their children to go abroad. There are stay close to home. Of course, these are different issues. But if you have the means and your family will allow you to go abroad, then my suggestion would be go and do a medical school in the UK or Germany, if you can learn languages. That way, what happens is you are in their system, which gives you an advantage. And if you're in their system, you develop relationships which last a lifetime.
Right.
Like for example, where I did my fellowship, if you see me at work, I still wear the lanyard.
Okay.
Because my mentor has opened multiple doors for me. वो relationship हमें नहीं मिलती अगर आप इंडिया में करते हैं.
Right.
Maybe it happens if you stay in India and you want to practice in India. Maybe those relationships help. The second aspect would be the mentorship which I talked about. The third is sponsor.
Right.
Sponsor, you need a sponsor who can help open doors. Even now, it helps that I tell people I am Daniel Brennan's trainee. So, पूरी दुनिया में any nephrologist or transplant physician will know him.
Okay.
And that opens doors for me. So whenever I visit a new country, and I try to make a point to visit the transplant center, and it helps that I'm Dan's trainee.
Right.
तो ये हमें मिलती नहीं है opportunities if you are going to one of these colleges where you're not going to see yourself long term there. That's one thing I want to talk about here.
And I think you also mentioned like अगर किसी को they are not sure where they want to build their career. One of the flexibility what doing a degree from UK and US gives you is that the recognition. So you don't have to give another license exam for it to be recognized.
If you want to come to UAE, if you've done your training in the UK, US, you get a license without exam.
Yeah, maybe if you can elaborate more on the procedure to, let's say, enter the UAE as a medical professional.
यहाँ पे there are three lessons. You have the DHA, Dubai Health Authority, Abu Dhabi, and the Ministry of Health. So I can talk about more about Abu Dhabi because I practice in Abu Dhabi. So Abu Dhabi has both government sector and private sector hospitals, but the regulator is Department of Health. And if you have Western degree, if you go to the website, they'll tell you. So then you get direct entry. But if you have a degree from India, Pakistan, or other countries, then you have to do a licensing exam. That allows you to get a tier 2 license or tier 3 license. Which based on that, your compensation also changes. So if you have tier 1 license, you get a different salary. But of course, there are many physicians who have tier 2, tier 3 license, but who are building great practice. They can still command a good salary because of the practice, the patient base. But that takes, of course, 10-15 years to learn.
Right. So, and is there any way, like, if someone has already finished their degree, say from India, what are the things that they can do? कैसे वो अपने आप को और ज़्यादा eligible बना सकते? Someone who is like really, into success, they want to succeed in their life, but they are already at a stage that they have finished, their basic qualification. So what can they do?
So coming to UAE, you mean? Or to going to abroad?
Anywhere.
So basically, my suggestion would be that you meet people, and a lot of opportunities come is by attending these professional conferences. So I mean, the way I got my fellowship in America was I went to American Society of Nephrology conference, annual conference, and I met people. I said, how did you end up here? I heard about a trainee from the UK who was practicing in Brigham, which is a top in Harvard, and I asked him, how did you get here doing a residency? And then they will create opportunities. And one of the things we feel shy to ask for a favor or ask for help, and there are people out there who are willing to.
Exactly. I think talking to the right people is the key.
Opens a lot of doors.
And I think that's also something we promote through OpGuru. So we are creating a network of mentors, from different domains, from different fields, which we can then connect to students or anybody who's willing to get information just like so that even if they're not able to go to these conferences, these places, they're still able to get the information which is required.
So, for example, हमारी society, nephrology society, you can sign up as free. Most of these international societies, for a trainee, use a free membership.
Okay.
Right.
And then when you join the free membership, you are eligible to join various committees, whether it's a social media committee or various groups you can join as a training member, and that creates opportunities for you. You know, so there's a young nephrologist committee for nephrology in ISM. Then you get a social media committee. So you and following some thought leaders on social media. And what happens is that way you see what the opportunities are, you know. So this I'm talking from a nephrology point of view, but getting actively engaged in your professional associations is very important. For example, if you want to be a nephrologist, cardiologist, or neurologist, you go to the local conferences, which are in every city. I'm sure
there's some conferences
happening. They will know someone, and who will know someone will create an opportunity. And all the international societies have a free membership for trainees. Sign up to that, and then telling people what you want to do, and there's no fear of rejection. I mean, if people say no, I don't have time for you, or I don't have time, don't take it personally. You know, and I sent many applications to fellowship programs when I was going to America. Many of them didn't reply to me.
Correct.
No problem.
And in a field like medicine, where there are various ethical and moral, implications. So how do you take care of, making sure that things like a system, which can also sometimes fail or give a wrong output. So how do you balance both of them? So scalability as well as making sure that we are not infringing on some ethical implications, or we are making some कुछ गलत प्रेडिक्ट हो गया उसकी वजह से someone's life get affected. So that's also something which you have to take care of.
और आप थोड़ा challenges के बारे में भी बात करें जो आपको face करने पड़ते हैं, because medicine is quite lethargic field, when it comes to technology adoption. तो ये भी थोड़ा
data privacy
बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं.
So coming to your point is that if you think about technology, adoption in other field has been seamless because that technology was designed with the end user in mind.
Right.
Like for example, अगर WhatsApp देखो या Instagram देखो, you don't need any training to use those software. These are very highly engineered products, but seamless that my mom can use it as well, and she's close to 70, and I won't say she's a digital native. So if you think about healthcare, we still use PCs.
Right.
We use on the PC को computer डाला हुआ है. It's a wheels डाला हुआ है. We call it cow, computer on wheels. So we put a PC on wheels and we move it around, rather than using iPads or mobile phones. So technically, healthcare में क्या हुआ है कि the end user has never been in the center of the design. Human-centered design हो. And as Facebook, Meta are like the leaders in this. कि उनका जो design है is the end user in focus. तो healthcare में ये नहीं हुआ था. Healthcare में always the design has been, the end user has been the last person in it. So a lot of success we achieved was because most of the digital transformation projects which I led was physician leading the project.
Right.
That means adoption is faster. I'm solving for pain points which an end user wants, and we're capturing the data which end user wants. So that was one of the reasons for some the project which failed in healthcare digital transformation is because end user is not all in the know. Because if you अगर आप देखें जो भी सॉफ्टवेयर बिकता है in healthcare is for the CEO or the CFO, not for the end user. Hence, you will see the physicians still using pagers, fax machines, big PCs. Our softwares look very lethargic. They're not. The UIs are still from the 1970s and 80s. So that has been a big challenge in healthcare generally. Second thing is physicians themselves don't engage with engineers. A lot of my projects have been successful because I managed to reach out to engineers, converse with them, learn from them. Physicians, we created a hard exterior outside. We are not engaging with people outside the healthcare system. तो उसमें क्या हो गया कि healthcare physicians generally are so outdated कि क्या हो रहा है outside world.
Right.
So there are many engineers who can solve many of our problems, but they don't even know, and we don't even know them.
Right.
तो ये एक हो गया. तो me interact with the people, so I attend more tech conferences now than engineering nephrology conferences.
Right.
तो इसमें क्या होता है कि I increase my awareness कि क्या हो सकता है, what is possible. So that has been helpful. Again, learning for is, of course, you're planning a career as a physician, but you also plan कि other opinions क्या है. So that's one thing. Now regarding the challenges of adoption is currently physicians value the system is just by seeing patients in front of them. So the way physicians even define themselves कि मेरी बहुत बड़ी practice है and I bring so many patients to the hospital. So that's how physicians' self-worth has been and how the management has seen physicians as.
Correct. Yeah.
But physicians could do more than that.
Yes.
You know, create brand value for the organization, create opportunities. Like, why should, say, a big pharma company or big biotech company choose your hospital as a test bed for their clinical trial or for their devices, unless their physicians are seen as a key opinion leader? So you're not just a good physician, but you're a key opinion leader.
Exactly.
Who influences other physicians to adopt your technology, adopt your way of working. So the KOL, creating yourself as a KOL is key important. For that, you have to meet other people, understand the technology, embrace the technology, and then be the first adopter. And when people see you as a first adopter, willing to work with other people, other opportunities come. That's important. Regarding other challenges is the healthcare system still is seeing itself as a retail business. Where they see कितने पेशेंट देखा कैसे कमाने के लिए. Now अगर आप देखें big companies like Meta or Google, they give world class products for free. Google में देखो या WhatsApp देखो या Instagram में world class products. And I'm sure as an engineer you'll recognize that these are well engineered products, but free there. Because they are not in the business of doing B2C transactions.
Right. दूसरे तरीके से they are making money.
They're making money on the data. Because we are not the customer, we are the product they're selling. Now, अगर मैं clinic देखो, मैं came to run my hospital, but they unfortunately ran the hospital retail way. But if you look at the main myoclinic model, they make much more money by non-retail than actually the retail business they do. So they collaborate with Google, many startups, and they bring in a ton of money. So hospital systems need to change the way they think. Right now, most hospitals are focused on the bottom line by doing the retail transactions, which is unsustainable in my mind because A, that depends on government paying for it. Right now, even though we have private system, essentially government is underwriting the system here. Same in India. As you know, Ayushman Bharat scheme is paying for a bunch of activities in India already. Thousands and thousands of crores, maybe not lakhs of crores, maybe lakhs of crores, but I don't know the exact number which government spends on healthcare right now in India, but it's a significant amount.
But still, the sad thing is not everyone is given the right amount of medical care.
Yes, because government cannot pay for it. Unless these organizations start thinking how to make themselves sustainable by other revenue streams. And this may not just require selling coffees or having other amenities in the hospital, by trying to see how data can help them make the systems more sustainable. You know?
Correct. Yeah, I think that's a very important.
It's also
point.
something that can make a lot of social impact. So
Social
people
impact,
who don't necessarily have the money, like earlier people didn't have the money to afford internet. The way Jio brought about that transition, I just want to connect India. I just want to bring it to the last village.
Yeah. So अगर आप data privacy बात करते हैं आप, I mean you're an engineer, a machine learning engineer. There are federated learning models where data privacy भी हो सकती है. Like already, my money is on cloud.
Right.
ये जो savings है, आपकी savings है, account पे
सब कुछ ही है.
Cloud, and
Every day we are.
we are exchanging our financial transaction हो रहा है रोज, and still my privacy is there, my security of my finances are there. Health के लिए हो सकता है. It's just that fear is stopping us from doing many things. But there is ways to get around that. Now, इस डेटा प्राइवेसी के चक्कर में हमने क्या किया है? We have disfranchised millions of people who need care right now. But if they could access a physician sitting here to get second opinion or support that physician there who may not be as, but he just needs little support from me to manage that patient. That's possible. Actually, offline हो रहा है काम. People are still using WhatsApp to share their medical information with me every day.
Right.
But why can't this be done in a systematic way,
Right.
like what the UPI has done in India? And it's going to come because the current model is not sustainable.
Not sustainable, exactly. अच्छा इंडिया में एक और बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है, you know, in the healthcare systems. Like there are too many patients and very few doctors. So, you know, what's your take on that, and how can this problem be solved? Because you mentioned about
Yeah. So as you know, Himanshu, you and I have discussed this multiple times. One of the advantage of this problem we have is it's a clean slate. We don't have to copy what's gone on in the West. It's a fair model.
Exactly, it's a
fair
completely different scenario. Yeah.
तो अभी क्या है इंडिया में, like for example, my wife's company, as you know, my wife has a successful startup called Napar. That became successful when the government brought in UPI and GST. Okay, so they created a framework where you could have Paytm, you could have Vyapar, and you could have, you know, many Zerodha. I mean, this is because these are all companies which benefited from that unified infrastructure.
Right.
Government is building one for healthcare. It's taken some time because unlike commerce, state health is a state subject. So India is a federal country, so it takes time to get everyone aligned to do one thing compared to say GST where you just have to get a few banks aligned.
Right.
But it's going to come because in the end, voters will want for it. अगर आप देखें my age group, मेरे जो classmates हैं, many of them are already developing disease of aging like diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and they can afford healthcare.
Right.
But they, at the moment, even if you pay good amount of money in India,
They're not able to
get reliable healthcare. Reliability नहीं है. And this guy is looking after his parents and looking after his children. Or this woman is looking after his parents, in-laws, and children. So they will want good healthcare. And right now, it's not a issue, vote gathering issue, but it will become soon. And people will look at your healthcare policies before voting, because in the end, people want to
live longer, live better lives,
and look after their families. Now, if I say to you, I'm a great nephrologist, I'm the best nephrologist in the world, how do you know that? But for a restaurant, you will know.
From reviews,
हाँ. Healthcare में ऐसा नहीं है. You know, how do you know that for a complement-mediated disease, I'm a good doctor to come to?
Only word of mouth is going.
Word of mouth.
वो भी मिलता है. Like for example, अगर आपको good restaurant है मिल जाएगा word of mouth. But good doctor के लिए still मुश्किल है.
Yeah, because the problems are between so many isolated people. इसे खाना सबको खाना रहता है. So every other person just goes to have dinner. But not everyone has kidney disease. So that's why it's not easy to spread among people.
That's one thing. The second thing is access to information is getting more and more easier.
Yes.
So DeepSeek, ChatGPT, and people are using it.
Yes, exactly.
तो अब वो क्या करेंगे कि they will want better care. They will not accept what the doctor is saying as the gold standard.
Right.
तो जब ये आएगा, that will be a driver for change. Second will be insurance companies. Now, insurance companies in India currently don't have benchmarks. Who is good and who is bad. But they will want for some quality metrics. कि तुम्हारे transplant के 1 year outcomes क्या हैं? What is your re-hospitalization rates?
Right.
What is the risk of opportunistic infections? So these are quality metrics we know in our domain. For every subspecialty कुछ quality metrics हैं. Then the insurance companies will ask कि तुम बताओ ये. Only then we will pay you the full reimbursement, or we will rate you as a 5-star hospital, like a 5-star hotel, you know.
I think we covered a lot of points, and it was very interesting conversation. You know, we got to know a lot of things, a lot of problems which can be solved. Or you know, I think हमारे लिए भी, you know, it was a great learning experience. We came to know about new problems actually.
So I think we start the conversation is how do you navigate in this chaotic world?
Right.
Because opportunities still are limited.
Correct.
Great opportunities still are limited. How do you ensure that you are there when these opportunities are being given out? तो इस पे थोड़ा सोचना है. You know, you have to think, be a little bit strategic.
Right.
Hard work alone, hard work करना है. But you have to be a bit strategic as well कि कहाँ पे आप effort डालोगे जहाँ पे you will have growth. Second thing is surround yourself with people with growth mindset.
Correct.
That is very key. If I had not met Himanshu, he would not have introduced me to a bunch of other people who normally in my line of work I wouldn't have never met.
Correct.
Yeah. So growth mindset. And number 3 is meet people in conference. I try and meet one new person a week in my every week. And the reason is that is an opportunity for you to tell your story again and again. As you know, I'm trying to build a reliable healthcare system which is digital first, AI enabled, and I tell the story once a week to some new person. Then what happens is they say, you know what, I know someone who may be able to help you. You know,
Yes, exactly.
that is very important. And don't be feared to be rejected.
Correct.
Your rejection will come often and frequent, but it doesn't matter. That is not a reflection upon you. Okay? And उसमें और एक है, and don't be feared to be judged. अगर लोग judge कर रहे हैं, that's nothing to you. That doesn't define who you are. And also have a big vision. Vision should be big that many people want to come and give you talent
Right.
and their work and their contacts to you.
Yeah.
You know? अगर vision बड़ा ना हो, then why will people help you? If the vision is just to enrich yourself or to become successful yourself, other people will not help you.
Right.
But इस जर्नी में क्या होता है कि everyone will become successful. Very interesting बात है. Amazon का जो owner है, Jeff Bezos, he owns like 8% of the company, something like that.
Yeah.
But what is interesting is Amazon, Jason Hong, they made many of their people multi-millionaires.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's why they're successful. Then what happens is best people want to work with you because everyone who works with you becomes successful.
Yeah. It's a win-win situation.
तो क्या होता है वर्ड ऑफ माउथ आती है कि इसके साथ काम करोगे तो आप भी सक्सेसफुल and that reputation you have to create.
And it's also, I think, important to be brave. So a lot of people, especially because a lot of our audience are students and students who are very early in their career, so they think यार कि हमारे शहर से तो किसी ने ऐसा कुछ किया नहीं.
That's wrong though, because if you think about Fortune 500 में काफी लोग Indians हैं.
Exactly. और वो भी बहुत rural areas से भी हैं. Some of them.
Of course, Satya is different because his father is an IAS officer, but Sundar Pichai is
very modest
background. Now. We don't have to compare with them with them. Although these are outliers in any society. Outliers in a society. What you have to feel is, whatever I am, that's fine. I don't have to kind of modify myself to be something else.
Right.
But having a vision and a dream is democratic. Anyone can have a dream. Yeah? But the thing is, you have to be persistent.
Right.
You have to go and tell this vision to hundreds of people you meet. Most people will not believe in you.
Right.
But someone will say, yeah, let's take a punt on this guy. And that's what happened to me. Like many people have rejected my ideas. It's not possible. You में क्या सोचता है? ये तो हमारी country भी नहीं है. I mean, actually, when I first came here, the senior nephrologist told me कि 90% of your salary is given just to keep your mouth shut and do your job. Okay. And
that's not the case actually. Actually, the government wants innovation,
That's very different. Yeah. If you think of the top, top of this country, they have a big mission. They want to go to Mars.
Yeah.
But what I was told when I first came here is, keep quiet, be under the radar, work subcortically. And I've done exactly what it takes to do. I tell people what I want to do, I tell publicly what I want to do. And in that process, what has happened is, opportunities come to me. So even though there are maybe 100 nephrologists in UAE, but opportunities come to me.
Right.
So because I am consistent, कि मुझे क्या करना है. And one more thing is, in this journey, anyone who's with me has been successful. And that if you create an aura around yourself कि यार इसके साथ काम करने से कुछ हो सकता है. Then what happens is other people come say, yeah, let's collaborate. Let's pool resources together. Let's pool ideas together.
That was very informative actually, and thank you to Dr. Siddiq for giving his valuable time for our podcast. And we'll keep coming up with new stuff on the channel. So
and from various different fields. So so that to give people who have different kinds of mindset or who want to succeed in a different niche, we will try to come up with people who have been through these journeys and who can give a very interesting perspective. So as you see, we have invited today Dr. Siddiq, who is a doctor, of course, but he has went through a unique journey, and we always try to keep such kind of
very
people.
unique journeys through our journey.
And I will thank you for doing this because most people right now are looking for how do I stand out.
Exactly.
And
From
you've
the
done
crowd.
well when you've not come from tier 1 cities, and you've all accomplished very well, and it's great that you're giving back to the community. That's very important. Thank you.
Thank you.